This is an LA Times Studios podcast.
Chris Goffard here at LA Times Studios. Thanks for joining us on Crimes of the Times. Today we have a follow-up on my podcast series, The Trials of Frank Carson. We'll talk about Carson's malicious prosecution lawsuit against his accusers and the massive payout that resulted. Tell us what you think in the comments below.
They're not alleging that I was there. It's just that I set it all in motion. And it's not true.
That's the voice of Frank Carson, a criminal defense attorney in California's Central Valley. When I met him in 2019, he was on trial for first-degree murder, accused of being the kingpin of a complicated murder conspiracy. But local prosecutors had already botched the case so badly that a judge had been forced to let him out on bail. It was one of the strangest cases I had seen in my nearly 30 years as a reporter covering the criminal justice system. In one courtroom at the downtown Modesto courthouse, Carson would represent clients accused of serious crimes, including homicide. Then he'd walk down the hall to another courtroom where he was facing his own murder charge. The ordeal had punished Carson physically. He'd spent 17 months in jail. His body was failing. You can hear the fatigue in his voice. But he carried himself through the courthouse with characteristic defiance. Even with a cane, he moved with a kind of swagger.
It's disconcerting to them. It's not what they expect. I mean, they expect that, I should be going through that courthouse cowering and hiding my head. And I won't do it. Maybe I should, but I won't do it.
People told Carson that he was paying the price for putting his thumb in the eye of the man for 25 years, which is how he thought of his work as a defense attorney. His style had always been hyper-aggressive and personal, and it had made him enemies.
The only thing that the DA understands is pain.
Carson was accused of masterminding the murder of a scrap metal thief and then covering it up, with help from a pair of liquor store owners, 3 cops, and his family. You can get the play-by-play in my 2021 podcast, The Trials of Frank Carson. Ultimately, after one of the longest trials in American history, a jury acquitted Carson and his co-defendants. One of the lessons of the case was how ruinous a long criminal trial can be, even when you win. A year after his acquittal, as he was preparing a malicious prosecution suit against the county in federal court, Frank Carson's heart quit and he died. He was 66. But the lawsuit moved forward with his estate named as a plaintiff, as well as 7 of his former co-defendants. They contended that police and prosecutors had fabricated the charges based on perjured testimony and junk science, all in a retaliatory scheme to destroy a defense attorney they happened to hate. Named in the suit were Birgit Flatiger, the elected DA of Stanislaus County, who oversaw the prosecution and allowed millions of taxpayer dollars to be spent on it, though she refused to give me an estimated dollar amount when I asked. Also named was Marlissa Ferreira, the trial prosecutor, who actually admitted in her closing argument to jurors that the case lacked hard evidence. The suit also named the DA investigator who spearheaded the case and sat with Ferreira throughout the trial, Kirk Bunch, who had a documented history of bad blood with Carson. This April, 6 years after Carson's acquittal, Stanislaus County approved a $22.5 million payout to settle the suit. It happened right on the threshold of trial. It was one of the largest payouts of its kind in the history of the California courts. But the payout might have been much larger if it had gone to trial and a jury had had a chance to examine how egregiously the case was mishandled. It's possible Stanislaus County supervisors knew they were getting off cheap when they approved the deal.
Frank had told me that they were looking at us and he had heard it, and I said, no, they'll see that they're mistaken because, we didn't do anything.
This is Georgia De Filippo, Frank Carson's widow, speaking at a press conference after the settlement was announced.
I thought it was a really bad dream, but I was in jail for nearly 2 months, 59 days.
The case against her and her daughter was based on some innocuous text messages that authorities framed as sinister. The evidence was so flimsy, the case against them didn't even survive a preliminary hearing. From the start, Carson believed the only reason authorities went after his family was to force him to cop a plea in exchange for their freedom.
It's like the hand of fate plucking you out of your life and throwing you down a hill. It was awful. We lost our business, came close to losing. We lost our home, and we lost our faith in the system and our faith in the people of the county.
Georgia's cut of the settlement was $4 million. She's also co-executor of her late husband's estate, which got an additional $4 million.
The settlement's great, but what it leaves you with is this really bad taste in your mouth and this constant anxiety of how wrong everything can go.
Georgia's daughter, Christina, a former art student, got $2.5 million of the settlement. The rest was divided between other co-defendants who were falsely implicated in the so-called conspiracy. $3.6 million went to Baljit and Daljit Atwal, who ran the Pop and Cork liquor store. $6.8 million was divided between 3 California highway patrol officers, some of whom lost their law enforcement careers as a result of the case. On one level, it's validation for a group of defendants who went through hell on the flimsiest charges. But of course, taxpayers foot the bill. None of the cops or prosecutors who engineered the case have admitted wrongdoing, and none appear to have been disciplined. The key players have retired with their pensions. The defense attorney they tried to take down is dead. And all these years later, the real killer of a 26-year-old Turlock man whose disappearance in 2012 ignited the whole case is still out there. As a defense attorney, Frank Carson had an uncommonly pugilistic style. He was profane and combative, folksy and shrewd, warm and vicious. He took delight in antagonizing and humiliating his courtroom opponents. He insulted cops and prosecutors who got in his way. He would impugn their competence, their honesty, their sanity, and sometimes their manhood. And he won big cases that other lawyers thought were hopeless. All of this made him many enemies among the ranks of Stanislaus County cops and prosecutors.
I haven't had any qualms about going after law enforcement for lying. And if I really catch them doing it in one trial after another, then it's open season for, as far as I'm concerned, for the rest of their career, unless they show me something different.
This is from one of my interviews with Carson 6 years ago, while he was still on trial. He was recounting some of his big cases for me and how he'd won them.
I told the jury that towards the end, that we're all taught to render unto Caesar. Caesar, and I usually point to the DA, Caesar doesn't deserve this man. I tell him that there's not a person in this room that wouldn't be sick of the idea that a guilty person walked out those doors unpunished for a crime that they committed. But there's something infinitely worse, and that would be to convict an innocent man of crimes that he did not commit. We go to great pains to explain reasonable doubt, and we take a long time, but sorry. I'm sorry. Apologize. Sorry. I'm sorry to get all goofed up. Anyway.
Carson was emotional during this interview. Part of it was he feared that his career as a lawyer, doing the thing he loved to do, was basically over. He told me about his first years as a lawyer in the public defender's office and how he relished taking what he called the DBLs, the dead bang loser cases.
I love trial, and I also loved the idea that they thought it was hopeless, and I did like winning. I loved winning, but I got to where I wasn't afraid to lose. I've had attorneys, they said, "Oh, Frank, you should have seen me. It was Carson-esque. I told him off and all that." That isn't the point. The point is to win.
Carson was the opposite of a slick-looking legal operator. He was shambling and disheveled. He loved to visit swap meets and collect old junk, which played a role in his downfall. There were piles of scrap metal and random machinery strewn all over his yard in the city of Turlock, where he was living. But local junkies and scrap metal thieves were constantly raiding the place. There was a hole in the fence that the thieves used to get in and out. One of the well-known local thieves was named Corey Kaufman. He was 26. People called him Corn Dog. He was deep into a methamphetamine addiction. He had a lot of enemies who wanted to hurt him, people he had ripped off in one way or another. When he disappeared one day in 2012, one of his friends, a career criminal and junkie himself, told police that Kaufman had planned to steal some metal pipes from Carson's property. Maybe there was a connection. Maybe Carson was behind the disappearance. And so local authorities began investigating. The DA's office led the charge. The man who took point had a well-established history of rancor with Carson. This was DA investigator Kirk Bunch. Carson had attacked him publicly and called him a liar, quote, dishonest and unprofessional. Carson had ridiculed him on the witness stand. There were other suspects detectives might have pursued. Some had threatened Kaufman and expressed open hatred toward him. But it was Carson detectives devoted their energies to. When Bunch and other investigators paid a surprise visit to Carson's office, Carson did what he would have advised a client to do. He refused to talk.
We are also investigating
Get out.
a potential murder.
Get out.
You're a person of interest.
Get out.
You need to
Get out. Get out.
Don't be
Get
combative.
out.
Don't be aggressive, Mr. Carson.
I need help here at 911. 811 15th Street. Get out.
Please.
These people won't leave. Get out.
Calm down, Frank.
Get out.
Faced with cops in his office who refused to leave, Carson behaved with characteristic chutzpah. He called 911 and threatened to arrest and disarm them. Authorities would point to his behavior and use this recording as evidence supposedly of his explosive and slippery nature.
These guys are armed. They're armed. One is a
Police officer.
DA investigator.
You're welcome to call. You have our number.
He won't get out.
Hey, Frank.
I'm going to place him under arrest.
I'm not going to place me under arrest.
Frank, the
I'm
reason...
going to have him disarmed and place him under arrest. Frank Carson, attorney at law. Get out!
Frank, can we
They
just
won't
be...
leave. They
Frank.
won't leave.
You know, Georgia, this thing's going to be all bad.
I'm ready.
It's already
Wait a minute,
all bad.
he just threatened. Bunch has just threatened my wife,
Oh,
saying
yeah.
it's all going to be bad. Get out so we can lock the door. I'm going to lock the door.
Can I tell you something real quick?
Get out. No. I don't want to hear anything.
Oh,
I'm
man.
tired of your abuse and your threats.
Are you going to be okay, Georgia?
Lock the door. Shut up. Get
I just want
out.
to make sure she's going to be okay.
Get out.
Give me a call.
Get out.
Okay.
Get out.
All right, Mr. Carson, it's not going to go
No.
away. It's not going to work.
Let go of my door.
It's not going to work this time, Mr. Carson. You're under investigation.
The investigation died down for a while, but revived when Kaufman's fragmented skeleton was found in Stanislaus National Forest in 2013, 17 months after he vanished. Still, there was nothing to link it to Carson. Then along came a man named Robert Woody, a drug-addled, steroidal handyman at the Pop and Cork liquor store in Turlock. One day, he was doing crystal meth with a girlfriend he described as, quote, another dope fiend. He was in a bragging mood. He told his girlfriend that he was responsible for Kaufman's murder. Police put a wire on the girlfriend, who got him to say it again. He claimed that he'd yanked out Kaufman's teeth and fed him to the pigs. It was a scenario uncannily similar to a popular monologue in the Guy Ritchie film Snatch. It didn't matter that Woody's description did not actually match Kaufman's remains. In Kaufman's skull, the teeth were conspicuously intact.
I made a statement to another doping, a girl, and things I said to her was apparently what happened to the victim or whatever, and it turned out to be nothing like that.
But Woody was arrested and subjected to harsh questioning. Kirk Bunch threatened him with the death penalty. Woody kept insisting that he had been making up the story. He'd just been trying to impress a lady with a tall tale. Faced with a murder charge, Woody was eventually allowed to plead no contest to manslaughter in exchange for a 7-year prison term, and in exchange for his testimony as the state's star witness. When I interviewed Woody years later, he told me he came to understand what story Stanislaus County law enforcement wanted to hear, that Carson was somehow behind the killing. So Woody became the pillar of the prosecution's case, even though his story shifted and changed endlessly, even though he was never able to direct police to a single piece of evidence corroborating his claims. He said that Carson had enlisted the brothers who owned the nearby Pop and Cork liquor store to watch his property, and that they'd killed and disposed of Kaufman when he came to rob the place. At one point, Woody even said that he'd seen Carson himself at the murder scene with a gun. Woody's lawyer told him no one would believe such a stupid story, and so Woody retracted it. He said he'd just been embellishing, trying to help the prosecution's case. Incredibly, even this did not stop prosecutors from making him their star witness.
Cold mornings, holiday plans. This is when I need my wardrobe to just work. Stuff that looks sharp, feels good, and I'll actually reach for. That's why I go with Quince. Plus, it makes gifting easy when everything's worth keeping for yourself. By partnering directly with trusted factories that maintain high standards for craftsmanship and ethical practices, Quince cuts out the middlemen and markups. That means premium quality at half the cost of other high-end brands, so you can give luxury pieces without the luxury price tag. I'm not lying when I say there's something for everyone at Quince. You want proof? I got nearly all my loved ones a gift from there this holiday season. Shh, don't tell them. Cashmere gloves for under $30, candles made by master perfumers for $24, waffle throw blankets made from organic cotton, the list goes on. Get your wardrobe sorted and your gift list handled with Quince. Don't wait. Go to quince.com/crimesofthetimes for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's quince.com/crimesofthetimes. Free shipping and 365-day returns. quince.com/crimesofthetimes.
In the state of California versus defense attorney Frank Carson and his co-defendants, there was an 18-month preliminary hearing and a 17-month trial, the second longest murder trial in California history. For prosecutors, among the many embarrassments was a cell phone expert named Jim Cook. They had paid nearly $400,000. Cook claimed that on the night Kaufman supposedly vanished from Carson's property, cell tower records put the Pop and Cork brothers' phones in that area. But he admitted he had done his mapping with a protractor and his naked eye. When he did it with Google Earth, the results actually favored the defendants. In the end, Robert Woody was the only person convicted in connection with Kaufman's death. After he got out of prison, he told me that he made up the whole account because he had no other choice. He wanted to see his family again. He told me his testimony was, quote, make-believe and stories they wanted to hear. It was a theme he repeated during his deposition during the civil suit.
As far as you're concerned right now, the things you told the police about being involved in the Corey Kaufman killing, that Frank Carson or anybody else was involved, none of that was true. Is that your testimony today?
I didn't see nothing.
Okay. You didn't know anything about Frank Carson being involved in Corey Kaufman's killing?
No, sir.
Do you recall that you were taken by the police up into the mountains to where they found the body of Corey Kaufman, and you went up there?
Yeah.
Had you ever been up there to the mountains where this guy was apparently buried?
No, I was never even on Carson's property neither.
Okay.
I don't know, I made a comment about chopping a body up. You know what I mean? And chopping the body up and feeding it to the hogs.
Hogs?
Yeah.
Pigs?
Yeah. So, but when they, I guess that right there, you know what I mean? And I said, take the teeth out, you know what I mean? And pulverize the teeth. You know, I made some stupid comments. But when that public defender came to me, the teeth were intact. The body wasn't cut up. You know, and they stopped wanting to hear me saying that I was innocent. Give them what they want to hear.
Why do you think you did that, Woody, Mr. Woody?
Why not? Get them off my back. I mean, the way I feel is I did my time for something I didn't do. It got taken from me. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna get it back. I tried fighting. I tried to say my innocence from the beginning. It didn't help out. I told all of you guys that no matter what I say today or tomorrow, it's not gonna change nothing. I mean, what actually needs to be done was the killer needed to be the one caught and been charged. But instead, they try to wrap all of us up in it. It irritates me, makes me aggravated,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Is what I put myself into and allow myself to get put into it instead of having a backbone and standing up.
The prosecution's decision to build their massive case on the word of a witness as obviously unreliable as Robert Woody was just one of the problems. Matt Murphy, a former Orange County prosecutor, served as an expert witness for the plaintiffs and produced a detailed report. He found the prosecution was rife with mistakes. Key roles were played by investigators with what he called, quote, pronounced histories of enmity toward Carson. He said the, quote, acrimonious history between Carson and local prosecutors should have compelled the district attorney's office to recuse itself. Murphy concluded that the case should not have been filed in the first place. He didn't think any reasonable jury would have convicted. A lawyer for Stanislaus County told me the $22.5 million payout would come out of the county general fund and insurance.
He was cold all the time. He was there for nearly 2 years. He was no bail.
Carson's widow believes the stress of the criminal case destroyed his health and contributed to the heart attack that killed him. No small part of it was the 17 months he spent in jail. He was so distrustful of jailhouse doctors that he refused to let them treat him.
He had diabetes, and when he went in, he was afraid to be tested for the diabetes because he knew that cops would plant evidence. If they had his blood, he wasn't sure where it would turn up. So he wouldn't give him any blood, so he couldn't be treated for that. His blood pressure went sky high. His kidneys burned out.
And I want to make something clear. The clients are not guilty. They're innocent, and there's a difference. These people are innocent, every single one.
Georgia said the ordeal and the time she spent in jail has transformed her outlook.
Actually, I'm much more appreciative when I finally did get out. You know, it's like being born again. You realize how beautiful the world is and how great iced tea is with ice in it, you know, and it's just the little things. And Frank was a man who believed in the law and the underdog. I can't think of anyone that was quite like him. He wasn't afraid to stand up, and he called it poking the bear. You know, he's standing up for somebody who hasn't got anybody to stand up for themselves.
She said she would like to see criminal charges brought against former Stanislaus County DA Birgit Flatiger, who presided over the prosecution, and the trial prosecutor Marlissa Ferreira. Both of them have left the DA's office. She found it painful to see them walk away without any real consequences. Georgia's attorney, Gary Gwilliam, described the case as, quote, a cautionary tale about what happens when the government goes after people they don't like. He said that during depositions in the civil case, the prosecutors and law enforcement officers who targeted Carson did not acknowledge that they had done anything wrong and did not face discipline for their behavior. Gwilliam said, quote, they said they thought they did the right thing. We thought Woody was credible. They have to toe the line. End quote. In Stanislaus County, law enforcement wants to consign the whole episode to the past. The new district attorney, Jeff Ligero, who took office in January 2023, issued a press release after the settlement. He described it, quote, as a necessary step to close a difficult chapter and maintain our focus on current public safety priorities.